This old cartoon shows how long anti-vax has been a thing. This is for the smallpox, cowpox virus. So on Facebook, you'll see sponsored ads, and they'll say, click through, and Ronda Rousey arrested. Of course, she fought somebody from Albuquerque, Holly Holm. And so when you click through, you get what looks like ESPN, and it looks like you can click on NFL or whatever, but it's a big article about Ronda Rousey taking some supplements, and they're totally legal, but they still arrested her. And then the article, the newspaper reporter, often named Ryan Hessman, takes these pills himself over a month and really bulks up, and maybe you should too. And then the ads always, or they're ads really, they always have a commercial for supplements. You can get a free trial, 30-day trial, free. But if you go to one of these ESPN pages, everything that you click, whether it's hockey or NFL, takes you to this wild ad, which wants you to buy the supplements in question. And these news articles, supposed news articles, we call them farticles, fake articles, farticles. But they have what looks like comments. Looks like you could, like what Alex Lewis said or reply. You can't like it. You can't reply. And they don't change. Day after day, Alex is always 12 minutes ago. And so that's kind of strange. So if you click through, here's one of the tells for your baloney detector. Ingredients, bad spelling for a priority. Bad grammar is a tell. And but I went ahead and entered Pee Wee Herman, and I looked up a Chicago phone number, and actually Peoria, Illinois, yeah. And to my surprise, I was approved immediately. And they said for $5.95, you can have your free sample of Alpha Cut. And so I did not order it. But if you do click through, always look at the terms and conditions. And here in the fine print, you are told that if you don't cancel after just 2 weeks, you don't get a 30-day trial. You don't cancel in 2 weeks, they're going to charge you $90 every month and for a new bottle until you do cancel. And that's how they make their money. It takes people a while to go, oh, shoot, I've got to cancel this stupid supplement. And they make their money. So one of the ingredients is Tribulus terrestris, which supposedly has testosterone. There's actually no scientific evidence that Tribulus terrestris does anything. Who knows what this is? We have a name for it here in the Southwest. We call it goat heads. Yes, goat heads are the source of Tribulus terrestris. So somebody's out there grinding up goat heads, that's going to help you pump up. And it turns out that when they tested a lot of supplements, 4 out of 5 did not have the DNA of their supposed contents. So if you got Alpha Cut 90, chances are 80% that there's no goat heads in there. So hydroxychloroquine was touted as a cure for COVID back during the big COVID-19, and it does not actually help hospitalized adults. Ivermectin was pumped. It still is being pushed as a cure or remedy. But here in New Mexico, people have died by taking ivermectin. It's good for horses and getting them dewormed, not so good for people. Big studies have shown it did not curb COVID-19 hospitalizations. And in fact, and this is on Fox, people that took ivermectin, now almost 2/3 of them have long-term bowel and urinary incontinence. That's a penalty for believing in baloney. Just before the election, the Trump campaign was still pushing ivermectin. We've got you covered. And I think RFK Jr. likes it. So this graph shows And on the bottom curve on the right, you can see a lot more Republicans than Democrats were dying after the vaccines came out, which I'll just do this briefly. But right there is where the vaccines come out. And you can see a big increase in Republican deaths because they thought that vaccine was some kind of bad news. Vaccines are a scientific miracle. They don't replace the immune system, they help the immune system. So this is a very telling letter. Somebody that was suspicious. I find it very suspicious that the virus now all of a sudden seems to be targeting people who didn't get that ridiculous vaccine. Has anybody else noticed this? Why is the virus only targeting those who stand up to the government vaccination all of a sudden? Well, that's a whole lot of conspiracy. I encourage Occam's razor, which is, well, gee, maybe the vaccines work, and that's why people that got them didn't get COVID as much. RFK Jr., of course, our Health and Human Services Secretary, pushes raw milk, which is not good. And under his watch, he dismantled our vaccine panels. Now we've got more measles than we have had in 30 years. We've had confirmed measles cases right here in New Mexico in this current outbreak. So this picture shows two boys exposed to smallpox at the same time. One of these was vaccinated as a baby. Guess which one? Well, the one on the right. And this shows one of the complaints about the COVID vaccine was, well, I got the vaccine and I still got COVID, so it doesn't work. But the effects might not be nearly as bad. So in my family, we got the vaccine and we got COVID. I had a mild case of COVID, but my relatives in Oklahoma, they were vaccine resistors, and when they got COVID, they were on intubators and ventilators for a couple weeks. So yes, the vaccines really help your immune system. This is real data, by the way. And even if you get the disease, the effects will be blunted. So this chart shows huge reductions in all sorts of death. Vaccines are a scientific miracle, and it's a real shame that our current health system is trying to make people not use them. So moving on to creationism. This is a creationist puddle. I fit perfectly in this hole. It must have been designed for me. And the intelligent designers say, well, the position of the Earth in the solar system, it's all too perfect. We're in the Goldilocks zone. God had to design it that way. Or did he? So these are some fossils that would just throw a big monkey wrench into evolution. Here we have a trilobite and a rabbit in the Cambrian. A Cambrian rabbit would just be a big wrench in the system of evolution. This is one thing that we did years ago. We called it Onyate Man. And you can see an Allosaurus eating a human. His legs are gone. That's why we called it Onyate Man. No legs. And we put that out and had some fun with it. But if intelligent design was true, or creationism, these things would not be impossible, but they sure would be impossible for evolution. We've never seen evidence of intelligent design, and there's plenty of dumb designs. Like humans have our breathing apparatus right next to the food and water intake, which means that you can choke if you vomit at night or whatever. Not a good design. So we made a prank out of this. We bought the website darwindisproved.com. We had this big story about a German grad student, Stefan, who they found this dinosaur eating a human. He got some pictures. Then the government came and confiscated everything, but he snuck a few pictures out, and now he's telling the world. And we put that out there on darwindisproved.com for about a month. And then we revealed it. There's my boys showing it's really a cast of what's called deadpan, a sculpture that my father made. and he had the dinosaur casts too. He was a great source for pranksterism. Um, and we actually nailed Kent Hovind, one of the barnstorming creationists. He served several years in a federal prison, but he's out now, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he regularly has Whack an Atheist segments on his channel. But he fell for DarwinDisproved.com and endorsed it in a crowded auditorium, and we gave him an award for it. So speaking of creationism, it is currently the 100th anniversary of the Scopes trial. And remember, Scopes lost. And those laws against evolution stayed on the books for years. And in fact, they didn't really start teaching evolution until Sputnik scared the crap out of everybody. And they said, gee, maybe we ought to do some science. So, and that hasn't changed too much. The Discovery Institute is the modern answer to, like the First Amendment. You can't have advocate a particular deity. You've got to have separation of church and state. So they said they're not about creationism, not about Adam and Eve, just about the inference to design. And then they came out with a logo. And their first logo had, the Sistine Chapel, God giving the spark to Adam. And somebody said, if we're trying not to be religious, that kind of looks religious. So they improved it. They took Adam out, they put in a DNA molecule, and then somebody said, well, it's still got God. So they morphed it to sort of a nebula, and they still called it the Center for Renewal. That's a code word, renewal, meaning, get us back to the Bible. But now it's called the Center for Science and Culture, and their logo has DNA, Leonardo with his great designs of the human body, the Constitution. So they're really just trying to say it's a complicated subject. Just let the kids hear both sides and let them decide. So they really want to still teach creationism in schools. Here is a great little video that Neil deGrasse Tyson made that explains why intelligent design is a science killer. So Neil, here we are.
So the question is, he saw one of my talks where I spoke of when the research scientists, so you carve your way to the edge of what is known, and there's a boundary there between what's known and what's unknown. Now you want to push that boundary by asking questions of the unknown, and that's how discovery unfolds. And in that lecture, I commented that there are some people in society who will invoke either a deity or what they call intelligent design as an accounting for things that we don't yet understand, on the premise that we will never understand it. And I asserted that those people are not useful in the laboratory. Whatever it is they do, the lab is not a place I need them to be. And I use them in the lab to say, there's something I don't understand, I'm going to solve it. That's a different kind of mentality towards the unknown. And those are the people who make discoveries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, the only thing intelligent design does predict is that things are so complicated, how could it have been evolved like that? Had to be designed. And that is intelligent design in a nutshell. So Richard Dawkins wrote a great book back in '86, The Blind Watchmaker, and he had a very simple computer program to develop. It's called a genetic algorithm, but he wanted to show the difference between cumulative selection and no selection at all. So in this program, if his string of letters got closer to this phrase from Hamlet, methinks it is like a weasel, it had a better chance of making it to that next generation. And he was comparing every generation to this target phrase, methinks it is like a weasel. But his purpose was to show that if you have cumulative selection, boom, you get the weasel in about 42 generations. With no selection, it just churns forever. It's just like monkeys typing infinitely and not coming up with Shakespeare. So in his book, Dawkins warned, life is not like that. Evolution has no long-term goal. There is no long-distance target. But that's okay, because the creationists said, we've got these genetic algorithms, and the things they say about evolution, that natural selection can't possibly change. You have to have, you can't have irreducibly complex structures evolve, because how could you have a component that's not functional, and then you select for that to form some new complicated thing? So they have, the young Earth creationists and the intelligent design people have jumped on Dawkins and the weasel to say all genetic algorithms are you feed in the answer. So William Dembski, one of the top ID guys, says they stack the deck by incorporating the solution that was supposed to be obtained from scratch, Dawkins 1986. That's the weasel. And another top IDer, Stephen Meyer, talks about the illicit expedient of providing the computer with a target sequence. And that's the way it stood for years and years. The creationists ignored genetic algorithms that solved things like motor design, turbine design, new drugs, math problems. And genetic algorithms have really done some amazing things. So when the founder of intelligent design, a lawyer named Philip Johnson, gave a speech at UNM, I got snookered into giving a companion speech after his, same afternoon at UNM. And I went to Philip Johnson's speech. He did not go to my speech, which is a shame, because I rolled out my genetic algorithm that I wanted to go way beyond the weasel. I wanted something where we weren't putting the answers in every step, and it was visual, it made movies. And so I ended up with this famous math problem, given like 4 points there. Find the shortest connecting straight line network, and you can have new internal points. And the solution for the 4 points is this. It's got 5 segments, 2 kind of internal points, and they make beautiful 120-degree angles. And for a 5-point structure, you have those 120-degree angles. You start to see hexagonal cells. That's not a bug, that's a feature of Steiner's problem. So it's a really difficult math problem. And I first got interested in it with soap bubbles. If you have 2 plexiglass plates and you use separating posts to represent your cities, then if you lift it out of the soap solution, you can get the Steiner shape. Here it is for the 4 and the 5 nodes, kind of cool. But also with soap, you can get what I call MacGyver solutions. MacGyver was the guy on TV where he would use whatever was around. So if he needed an insulated conductor to short out the bomb before it went off, he would say, well, you just sharpen both ends of a pencil, wood on the outside insulates, the carbon on the inside conducts, and you've got your insulated conductor, and he saves everybody. But if you lift out the soap at an angle, you get this. It's not the perfect Steiner solution. Instead of 7 segments, it only has 6, but it still connects every point to every other point. And in fact, it's almost as good as the Steiner, but it's a multiple. It's an also-ran. So there can be one super book answer, the correct answer, and a whole lot of kind of quasi-answers that work. So I wanted a genetic algorithm where these creations were described by DNA. So here is the DNA. And I'll just point with my finger here. So you can see 0.6 and 0.7. Those are the 2 extra notes. 0.6 has coordinates 42381. There they are, 42381. So 0.7, there it is. And then 0.8 and 9 have been turned off. So that's like junk DNA, but they still have numbers. They can be mutated, so you can have your junk DNA mutating along with your real DNA. These are really easy to create. You just stuff some numbers into a string, and you've got a possible solution to Steiner's problem. So the trues and false represent who connects to what. So we can see node 1 connects to node 6, and there it is, boom, boom. And so you can build up any network and describe anything with just a string of DNA, where these can be created easily. You can mutate them, just switch a number or a T or F. You can mate them to have sex and speed up evolution that way. So the fitness test does not know that the target is the Steiner solution. Basically, it says shorter is better. So here's one 6-point problem, and here is a shorter solution for the same 6-point problem. So the one in the middle is a better solution, and it would have a better chance of being in that next generation. Whereas this one on the right, you'll notice node 6 is now isolated, and that is like a death sentence. You're not connecting all the cities. So that one has a arbitrarily long length to sort of kill it off. A biblical phrase, many are called, but few are chosen. Natural selections in the Bible. So after hundreds of runs, about 2/3 of the time I got this MacGyver, and then about a quarter of the time I got this, the really simple one. In fact, it has another name, minimum spanning tree, and there's no internal points. It's really easy to guess, but it's not the Steiner. And then on the bottom left, I have the one I showed you the soap bubble for, and you'll notice it's almost optimum length. Then I've got the face plant on the upper right. The middle right almost was the Steiner. It's the longest shape of all of these. And on the bottom right, the jewel and the needle in the haystack, the jewel, the Steiner solution, which happened about 1 out of 200 runs. So it didn't happen all the time. Sure enough, the MacGyvers won most of the time. So after I wrote my new improved C++ program for this, I said, I've been doing 5 nodes for months, maybe years. So I'm going to move up to 6. I was really excited, and I anticipated that the solution for 6 nodes would be the double bow tie with a length of 1839. So one Friday afternoon, I started this running on my office computer and went home for the weekend. And I came back Monday and said, who left my computer on? Oh, that was me. And I looked at the results, and I said, oh, did I get the double bow tie? Did I get it? 1839? And the answer was 1587. I said, well, that's better, way better. What happened? So when I looked at it, I found that the genetic algorithm came up with, well, instead of 4 legs here, if you just use 3 legs to get from point 2 to point 5, that's a big savings. But you have to kind of twist the whole thing up. But you can still see the hexagonal cells. And there's 2 versions of this. You can twist it down and also get something that works. So when that happened, I said, holy cow, this takes this weasel thing and explodes it. Because this surprised me. My computer program came up with an answer that actually shocked me. I wasn't putting the answers in. It was giving the answers out. So then I published that, and the intelligent design community said, uh-oh, we got us a hot one. And they actually published an article about the Steiner tree genetic algorithm, and they poo-pooed it and said, oh no, they're feeding the answer in. And so I published my source code and said, okay guys, here's the source code, see if you can reverse engineer it. But one of the claims they made in that paper is that natural selection is supposedly innately capable of solving any biological problem that it faces. No, in real life, natural selection doesn't always work. In fact, 99% of species have gone extinct. So it's not perfect. So they wrote a second rebuttal paper and that was gratifying. So in this paper, their guy Ewert says that the Steiner solutions are not irreducibly complex. And I say, well, the heck, they're not. So what Ewert said was, well, you can get these things on the right just simply with some easy probability, and that's the basic solution, and then you're just tweaking that to get the minimum path. No, that's baloney. In fact, this one here shows if you take this segment and just bend it down here, you've killed the organism. It doesn't connect all the cities, so that's a lethal mutation. So these are irreducibly complex structures, and it's a big straw man to say they're not. Ewert actually went on to say there are no intermediate evolutionary stages in obtaining such a network, and that's baloney. So this is generation 151. I've got the minimum spanning tree, but it's got a node here connecting this to that. And all you need to do is switch this segment to here, and you get a MacGyver, which I did, which happened in about 160 generations later. So there are intermediate evolutionary stages. So Ewert was flat wrong about that. So equating Steiner's with the minimum spanning tree, an easy problem, that is a straw man fallacy. So moving right along to the felon in chief. So this is a AI, artificial intelligence. Sometimes it's kind of fun, but we'll talk more about AI in just a minute. But here in New Mexico, we have some famous insurrectionists. Couy Griffin, Otero County Commissioner, was booted from his seat and after his conviction for the January 6th insurrection. There he is climbing on improvised gates to attack Congress. So he got kicked out. John Eastman, a Santa Fe attorney, is featured prominently in this great workup that somebody did of the Trump crime family. Eastman is Iceman up on top. And then we also have this wacky guy, David Clements, used to teach at NMSU. He got booted because he kept telling students not to take vaccines. And then he became a vigorous big lie proponent, saying that Biden stole the 2020 election. Toured the country giving that speech there. So one of the evidences for the big lie is the argument from ridicule. And so here's a rather shocking little clip from Kenneth Copeland, who's one of these barnstorming evangelists that has his own private jet. And let's see what he's got to say.
Laughter is a deterrent to pain. Ha 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 ha. The Associated Press said that Joe Biden is president. Ha! Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to be president. Mickey Mouse is going to be king. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's what cults do. They indoctrinate people. By having everybody responding positively to the cult leader, they kind of intimidate people into laughing along and believing. So that's kind of scary. All righty. So we had Copeland, and why did they lie? Well, the actual motive is power. They don't really care about the morality. when Herschel Walker was running against John Ossoff in Georgia. He was the MAGA candidate, and when it came to light that he had paid for abortions, they just rolled with it in stride. And here's one of their people, Dana Loesch, who gives the why they didn't care that Herschel Walker had abortions explanation. So here is Dana.
I am concerned about one thing.
Oh, hang on.
So I don't care.
I'm going to pause it here. It looks like you have to quit the PowerPoint slideshow, and then it'll show you the movie. So that's the deal. The slideshow takes precedence. Okay, we got her.
I am concerned about one thing only at this point. So I don't care if Herschel Walker paid to abort endangered baby eagles. I want control of the Senate.
Yeah, there you have it. Spooky stuff. Okay. And so that was old Dana Loesch. The big lie is ongoing. So the president himself tweeted that J. Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13. He showed this doctored photo where they added the MS-13 and the words marijuana, smile, cross, and skull. It's a cult, and basically that supposedly spelled out MS-13, M for marijuana, S for smiley, 1 for the cross, and 3 because there are 3 holes in a skull. They're not counting the foramen magnum. That's a big hole. So there is Abrego Garcia's real hand. There is no MS-13 there. None at all. And so real MS-13 gang members don't screw around with sly symbols. They put right there on their faces, on their backs, MS-13. So Terry Moran had this interview before he got canned, which is quite revealing. So here is Terry Moran.
And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattoo.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He didn't have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't have that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattoo.
We'll agree to disagree. I'll move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
And you think it was Photoshop?
Well, here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
Terry, no. He had MS as clear as you can not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news because it's fake news.
In El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They're there now, right?
No, but they're in your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine's.
he's got MS-13. Okay? It's you just such a disservice.
We'll take a look.
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, go on to something
Woo.
else.
Contestant.
Woo! And that's pretty crazy stuff. So how is that any different from Eric Dubé saying there never has been a 24-hour sun observed, or the Roswell people saying, yeah, the real debris, they took that to right field. How is it any different? So let's see here. We got that. And more recently than that, Kilmer Garcia met with a senator, and the White House blogged about it, saying he should get sent back. Bukele, the dictator of El Salvador, said, well, look, they're look at these awful conditions he's in. They're sipping margaritas. They're just having a great time. And what happened was that when he first met with the senator, there were no margaritas. They just had glasses of water. Then Bukele's staff brought in the margaritas so they could set up that photo op to make it look like they were just partying their fannies off. And that's the kind of stuff that dictators use to control public opinion. So George Orwell wrote, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. 1984, how could that not apply to something like Trump saying it's their MS-13? You've got to see it. So, did I call it or what? Well, wait. Margaret Atwood, hold my beer. And she, of course, wrote The Handmaid's Tale. So the Big Lie, as an agent of chaos, Hannah Arendt wrote, the constant line is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring no one believes anything anymore. A people that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And with such a people, you can do whatever you want. So let's quickly look at artificial intelligence. My friend, a paleontologist in Utah, was appalled when his museum said, hey, we got AI to draw a picture of Utah raptor. That's not Utah raptor. It's got the head of a T-Rex, got the body of a Stegosaurus. That's not Utah raptor. And so I asked Google, I was trying to get help on a puzzle, and I said, hey, give me a 4-letter word that means turn topsy-turvy. And AI said upend. And I said, Google, that's got 5 letters. I asked for 4. So AI doesn't, it has no context. It's just basically it's got a database and it's looking for what seems more likely. And it turns out that the answer upend was more likely than the actual 4-letter word. Here's a picture of Trump that he posted himself. And it's AI because, of course, he doesn't go to church. 6 fingers, that's a big tell. AI does not check for physical reality. So this AI image of the Last Supper, if you intersect the lines, they should all intersect at the same point, but they don't because AI is just basically looking at dots. It's not doing physical analysis and does water flow downhill or does physics say this? It doesn't care about physics or art or geometry or anything like that. Here's the real thing. Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, you darn right they line up because a human drew that. AI bots are not human. This is recently from Rachel Maddow. So Letty Hera and check this out, July 11th said Pam Bondi's attempt to escape with the Epstein client list is laughable. Hashtag no more secrets. So clearly she is criticizing Pam Bondi. The next day, July 12th, retweet if you agree it's time to take a stand against mob mentality and support Pam Bondi. This is not a human. This is a bot. And the bots are having trouble keeping up with the Trump administration because they keep changing their explanations. Here's another one that Rachel Maddow turned up. Carla Wegley at 5:18 p.m. on July 15th. Wow, this is getting juicy. Can't wait to see what comes out of this. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a wild ride. Hashtag MAGA bombshell, hashtag Epstein files, hashtag Trump scandal. And then 1 minute later, 5:19 p.m., Carla Wigby, the coffin of perversion has been nailed shut as the case of Jeffrey Epstein is finally closed. Secrets may remain hidden, but no more victims will suffer at his hands. Hashtag justice, hashtag closure. Same person, 1 minute apart. That is a bot. What can you do about AI? Don't get your news from social media. Much of it is tainted. So get your news from actual news sources. And if someone posts an article and it says msnbc.com, you are free to go to msnbc.com and ask, do you guys have this article? And verify that's the actual source. Also, fact-checking sites like snopes.com or factcheck.org are very good to verify claims that you're not convinced by or suspicious of. And if you are not sure of the validity of a story or a post, even if it resonates with what you feel, it could be clickbait that's trying to get you to click on it. Don't share it until you check it out. So that's some advice to help us avoid the evils of AI. Many pseudosciences overlap. Once you drink one flavor of Kool-Aid, slightly different. If you go cherry Kool-Aid, then lime Kool-Aid is not that much of a bigger step. So here's a flat earther, a spinning ball in a vacuum, molten core and water stuck to the outside. Ha ha ha. No wonder you guys need booster shots. LOL. So they are, and in fact, many flat earthers are quite anti-vax people. Vaccines are evil, and the Illuminati and MK Ultra. Here's one that's from a creationist. Satan says you evolved from a monkey, and if you believe that, there's a global warming crisis to sell you. Wow. So, in fact, many creationists think global warming is just another hoax. Trump himself has said basically sea levels will rise an eighth of an inch in 300 years. No, it's more like almost a meter. So Carl Sagan had this great quote that I'm going to close with, but do we have? Ooh, it's right at 12:30. So I'll just read it for you. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we are up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes rambling along. And I actually verified that quote. I found the video. Great quote. But that's all I got for now. So got maybe a quick question or two.
People want to stick around, we can do a couple quick questions.
Well, when AI comes up with the wrong answer, what do you do about it? I had met Sam Donaldson a couple of weeks ago, and I decided to look up a couple of things about him, and it told me that he died.
Wow.
There was another Sam Donaldson in Taos, New Mexico, that had died, so AI decided that Sam Donaldson was dead.
Yikes. Well, you could, quote the original source on social media and say, hey, I talked to Sam Donaldson. He's not dead.
Well, it wasn't social media. I was looking at my computer.
Oh, okay.
And I got an answer from Google.
Yeah, eek. There are techniques to talk to Google, but I haven't had great success with them. Yeah,
So thanks, that was more fun than you said it was going to be.
excellent.
But I think you have more work to do because just on NPR News this morning, we heard about a Harvard professor, who I think is a tenured professor, who thinks that the object that is heading towards Earth, and I'm not sure, that has been verified by astronomers, etc., is a flying spaceship, an alien spaceship.
Well,
And he is a Harvard professor.
there was another Harvard professor that was a real big UFO abduction expert, John something or other. So it's not unusual for, especially there's a professor at Northwestern who is in signal processing and digital signals and Butterworth filters, but in his side he's a amateur historian and says the Holocaust never happened. So the Holocaust deniers say, well, Professor Arthur T. Butts, PhD, says the Holocaust never happened. And they don't tell you, oh, yeah, by the way, he's not a historian. So, yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know why science attributes things to God which aren't. like the discovery of the Higgs boson. And, now they're calling it the God particle.
Yeah, that's unfortunate terminology. So not all scientists are doing that, but I guess there is some motivation to try to attract the public with ideas that might persuade them. So I'd say that's not a great thing, but we got freedom of speech. So the answer to somebody saying something absolutely stupid is to try to correct them in public. One more.
I don't, to kind of play off what I think it was you that said that. Being smart has nothing to do with things susceptible to conspiracy theory or cult behavior. In fact, if anything, being smart and knowing you're smart, it can kind of make it worse. Because if you are smart and you know it, you tend not to question yourself. And if somebody feeds you a line of pardon me, bullshit, and it sounds good to you, it's very easy to start thinking, well, I believe it, I'm smart, so why even question it?
Yeah, Richard Feynman made a great point about that. He says the easiest person to fool is yourself, and that's how those things happen. Okay, all right. Well, thanks.
And as a speaker, we
Oh, nice.
present you with